by the instruction and grace of our spiritual master, Om Vishnupad Paramahamsa Sripad Bhakti Madhava Puri Maharaj. We are here reading Srimad Bhagavatam. Namaste, Dr. Suhu. Namaste, Dr. Srinivas.
Namaste.
We're here reading.
Dandavad.
Namaste, Dandavad. Srinivasan sir. Namaste, Dandavad. Maharaj.
Today we're reading the Catuḥ-ślokī. It's the essence, actually, of the whole Bhagavatam, where Lord Brahma is inquiring very specific questions from Lord Vishnu. This is before Lord Brahma creates the cosmic manifestation. And Lord Vishnu gives, in these 4 shlokas, very nice, essential answers to Lord Brahma. So it's very auspicious to be reading this in your association today. So this is Canto 2, Cosmic Manifestation, Chapter 9, Text 32. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Yavannaham yato bhavo yarupa guna karmaka tataiva tattva vijnanam astu te mad anugrahat. All of me, namely my actual eternal form and my transcendental existence, color, qualities, and activities, let all be awakened within you by factual realization out of my causeless mercy. Purport. The secret of success in understanding the intricacies of knowledge of the absolute truth, the personality of Godhead, is the causeless mercy of the Lord. Even in the material world, the father of many sons discloses the secret of his position to the pet sons. The father discloses the confidence unto the son whom he thinks worthy. An important man in the social order can be known by his mercy only. Similarly, one must be very dear to the Lord in order to know the Lord. The Lord is unlimited. No one can know him completely, but one's advancement in transcendental loving service of the Lord can make one eligible to know the Lord. Here we can see that the Lord is sufficiently pleased with Brahmaji, and therefore he offers his causeless mercy to him, so that Brahmaji may have the factual realization of the Lord by his mercy only. In the Vedas, also it is said that a person cannot know the absolute truth, the personality of Godhead, simply by dint of mundane education or intellectual gymnastics. One can know the supreme truth if one has unflinching faith in the bona fide spiritual master, as well as in the Lord. Such a faithful person, even though illiterate in mundane sense, can know the Lord automatically by the mercy of the Lord. In Bhagavad Gita also it is said that the Lord reserves the right of not being exposed to everyone, and he keeps himself concealed from the faithless by his yoga maya potency. To the faithful, the Lord reveals himself in his form, quality, and pastimes. The Lord is not formless, as wrongly conceived by the impersonalist, but his form is not like one that we have experienced. Dandavad Pranam Madhu Gopal Prabhu. The Lord discloses the transcendental nature. The Lord discloses his form, even to the extent of measurement, to his pure devotees, and that is the meaning of Yavan, as explained by Srila Jiva Goswami, the greatest scholar of Srimad Bhagavatam. The Lord discloses the transcendental nature of his existence. The mundane wranglers make mundane conceptions of the form of the Lord. It is said in the revealed scriptures that the Lord has no mundane form. Therefore, persons with a poor fund of knowledge conclude that he must be formless. They cannot distinguish between the mundane form and the spiritual form. According to them, without a mundane form, one must be formless. This conclusion is also mundane because formlessness is the opposite conception of form. Negation of the mundane conception does not establish a transcendental fact. In the Brahma Samhita, it is said that the Lord has a transcendental form and that he can utilize any one of his senses for any purpose. For example, he can eat with his eyes, he can see with his legs. In the mundane conception of form, one cannot eat with one's eyes or see with his leg. That is the difference between mundane body and spiritual body of Satchidananda. A spiritual body is not formless. It is a different type of body of which we cannot conceive with our present mundane senses. Formless, therefore, means devoid of mundane form or possessing a spiritual body of which the non-devotee can have no conception by the speculative method. The Lord discloses to the devotee his unlimited varieties of transcendental bodies, all identical with one another, with different kinds of bodily features. Some of the transcendental bodies of the Lord are blackish, and some of them are whitish, some of them are reddish, some are yellowish. Some of them are four-handed and some of them are two-handed. Some of them are like fish, some of them are like a lion. All these different transcendental bodies of the Lord, without any differential category, are disclosed to the devotees of the Lord by the mercy of the Lord. And thus the impersonalists' false arguments claim the formlessness of the Supreme Truth do not appeal to a devotee of the Lord, even though such a devotee may not be very advanced in devotional service. The Lord has unlimited numbers of transcendental qualities, and one of them is his affection for his unalloyed devotee. In the history of the mundane world, we can appreciate his transcendental qualities. The Lord incarnates himself for the protection of his devotees and for the annihilation of the faithless. His activities are in relationship with his devotees. Srimad Bhagavatam is full of such activities of the Lord in relationship with his devotees, and the non-devotees have no knowledge of such pastimes. The Lord lifted Govardhan Hill when he was only 7 years old and protected his pure devotees at Vrindavan from the wrath of Indra, who was overflooding the place with rain. Now, this lifting of Govardhan Hill by a 7-year-old boy may be unbelievable for the faithless, but for the devotees, it is absolutely believable. The devotee believes in the almighty potency of the Lord, while the faithless say that the Lord is almighty, but do not believe it. Such men with a poor fund of knowledge do not know that the Lord is the Lord eternally, and that one cannot become the Lord by meditation for millions of years, or by mental speculation for billions of years. The impersonal interpretation of mundane wranglers is completely refuted in this verse, because it is clearly stated here that the Supreme Lord has qualities, form, pastimes, and everything that a person has. All these descriptions of the transcendental nature of the personality of Godhead are factual realizations by the devotee of the Lord, and by the causeless mercy of the Lord, they are revealed to his pure devotee and to no one else. Text 33. Aham eva sam eva gre, nanyad yatsad asat param, paschadaham yad etachcha, yovashisheta somsmyaham. Brahma, it is I, the personality of Godhead, who was existing before the creation, when there is nothing but myself, nor was there the material nature, the cause of this creation. That which you see now is also I, the personality of Godhead, and after annihilation, what remains will also be I, the personality of Godhead. Purport. We should note very carefully that the personality of Godhead is addressing Lord Brahma and specifying with great emphasis himself, pointing out that it is he, the personality of Godhead, who existed before the creation. It is he only who maintains the creation, and it is he only who remains after the annihilation of the creation. Brahma is also a creation of the Supreme Lord. The impersonalist puts forth the theory of oneness in the sense that Brahma, also being the same principle of I, because he is an emanation from the I, the absolute truth, is identical with the Lord. The principle of I, and that there is thus nothing more than the principle of I, is explained in this verse. Accepting the argument of the impersonalist, it is to be admitted that the Lord is the creator I, and that Brahma is the created I. Therefore, there is a difference between the two I's, namely the predominator and the predominated I. Therefore, there are still two I's, even accepting the argument of the impersonalist. But we must note carefully that these two I's are accepted in the Vedic literature, in the Catuḥ-Upanishad, in the sense of quality. The Catuḥ-Upanishad says, Nityo nityanam chaitanas chaitanam eko bahunam yo vidhati kaman. The creator I and the created I are both accepted in the Vedas as qualitatively one, because both of them are nityas and chaitanas. But the singular I is the creator I, and the created I's are of a plural number because there are many I's like Brahma and those generated by Brahma. It is the simple truth. The Father creates or begets a son, and the Son also creates many other sons. And all of them may be one as human beings, but at the same time, from the Father, the Son and the grandsons are all different. The Son cannot take the place of the Father, nor can the grandsons. Simultaneously, the Father, the Son, and the grandson are one and different also. As human beings, they are one, but as relatives, they are different. Therefore, the relatives of the creator and the created, or the predominator and the predominated, have been differentiated in the Vedas by saying that the predominator I is the feeder of the predominated I's. And thus there is a vast difference between the two principles of I. In another feature of this verse, no one can deny the personalities of both Lord Brahma, no one can deny the personalities of both the Lord and Brahma. Therefore, in the ultimate issue, both the predominator and the predominated are persons. This conclusion refutes the conclusion of the impersonalist, and in the ultimate issue, everything is impersonal. This impersonal feature stressed by the less intelligent impersonalist school is refuted by pointing out that the predominator I is the absolute truth, and that he is a person. The predominated I, Brahma, is also a person, but he is not the absolute. For realization of one's self in spiritual psychology, it may be convenient to assume oneself to be the same principle as the absolute truth, but there is always the difference of the predominated and the predominator, as clearly pointed out here in this verse, which is grossly misused by the impersonalists. Brahma is factually seeing face to face his predominator, Lord, who exists in his transcendental eternal form even after the annihilation of the material creation. The form of the Lord as seen by Brahma existed before the creation of Brahma, and the material manifestation with all the ingredients and agents of material creation are also energetic expansions of the Lord. And after the exhibition of the Lord's energy comes to a close, what remains is the same personality of Godhead. Therefore, the form of the Lord exists in all circumstances of creation, maintenance, and annihilation. The Vedic hymns confirm this fact in the statement Vasudevo va idam agra asin na Brahma, na cha Shankara eko Narayana, asin na Brahma neshana, etc. Before the creation, there was none except Vasudeva. There was neither Brahma nor Shankara. Only Narayan was there and no one else, neither Brahma nor Ishana. Sripad Shankaracharya also confirms in his comments on Bhagavad Gita that Narayan, or the personality of Godhead, is transcendental to all creation, but that the whole creation is the product of avyakta. Therefore, the difference between the created and the creator is always there, although both the creator and the created are of the same quality. This ends our reading for today. This purport does continue, but will pick it up on Monday. These purports will be very long because the Catuḥ-ślokī is very important, and Prabhupada is giving us a lot of insight into what these shlokas are saying. Are there any comments or questions from anybody?
I have a doubt, not a question you can say, but I have also observation and question also, because you have said very rightly that it is very carefully we have to understand the creator and created. Okay, and very clearly said that in the beginning the creator was the Narayan or Vishnu, if I properly understood, and then he has created this world, and we all are the you can say that a devotee or the disciples of the God. Okay, and but there is a problem in that. My understanding goes like in Vedic tradition, especially with the Shruti tradition. When we talk about the theory of creation and creator kind of things in the Nasadya Sutta Rig Veda, so there are some statements when we teach philosophically that nothing was there. Okay, but when it comes to the, probably I understood this way, probably when it comes to the Smriti tradition, and which is also very significant, and Vishnu Puran, all Puranic traditions, and there maybe we can talk about a theory of creation or creator created by this world is whole consciousness is being created by the absolute reality, or the Vishnu or the Narayan being created by, when it comes to Smriti tradition. But when it comes to Shruti tradition, there is no such statement. Like, I need a clarification there. So what do you have to say regarding this?
So first, what was just said here is that Lord Brahma is the creator of the material universe, right? And he is coming from Vishnu. So not that Vishnu is coming to create the material world directly. He is only giving birth to Brahma, who is the first living entity in the material creation. And then Lord Brahma, through using the Lord's power, is then creating everything, right? So that clarification is there. And then what was said is that before the material creation, throughout the material creation, and after the annihilation of the material creation, Narayan is there. So now what is talked about in the Shruti traditions about there being nothing in the beginning, that is sounding like that is the beginning of the material creation, right? Lord Brahma finds himself in nothing, right? He is in nothing. He has not created anything yet. He's not even experiencing the Lord who gave birth to him. He is just by himself, right? We read this a couple of verses ago. And then he's very distraught about that. Lord Brahma is in nothing. Nothing is there. It's just him. It's just his own awareness of himself with no idea of where he came from or what he's supposed to do. And he's very distraught about this. And then finally, this drives him to meditate upon himself. And then he hears the vibration, basically like, what is it? What is the word that is he hears? He hears the word basically tapa. He hears, right? Is austerity. So he just hears the sound vibration, and then through that informing his meditation, then he's able to perceive the Lord through his meditation, right? And then from that, then he is having the potency to create the material world. So that nothingness is talking about the beginning of the material creation, which Brahma finds himself in. But this verse is saying Narayan is coming even before the material creation.
I would like to add one point here. that when we said nothingness, nothingness is not a sense of nihilism or void. It can be, has the power of everything. It could be it is the nothingness is indescribable, something which is you cannot describe in terms of language. Yes, that is the creation of the Brahma or absolute, the Narayan. You can say that has created, as you said very rightly. Yes, it's nothingness is not nihilism as it is understood by Western philosophers or something. It's not a kind of void, but it is something which is has many meanings and something which is very energetic and something which is very vibrant and something which is has the power of kind of creation, everything. And there comes the Narayan and the Vishnu. Just would like to.
Well, I mean, Narayan is not coming from nothingness. What is being said is that nothingness refers to no material things. The verse is saying very clearly that the spiritual variegatedness, Satchidananda, of the spiritual world is eternally existing. The Lord in his personal form with his associates, paraphernalia, is eternally existing. That's not nothingness. That is everything in a very concrete, eternal Satchidananda, eternally conscious, eternally blissful form, which is constantly renewing itself, right? So that's not nothingness. The nothingness is referring to what is there. There's no material creation yet. And then after that meditation, then Lord Brahma is able to do the creation. That's what's being said here. But I think there's very much in popular culture, there's kind of this romantic idea of nothingness as meaning all spiritual world, but that's a little nonsensical. The Vedas are very clearly saying, Satchidananda, the personality of Godhead, the Bhagavan, right? We have Brahman, Paramatma, Bhagavan. And when we're talking about Bhagavan, we're talking also about predominator and predominated, right? So it's not, the Lord is not just there by himself, but the Lord automatically means that which he lords over, the paraphernalia, the devotees, and the pastimes among the devotees and the Lord and the paraphernalia. And that is eternally existing. That's what Veda is giving us. So we should not confuse that for nothingness,
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Hello. Pranam Swamiji. Hello.
Dr. Srinivasan, pranams. Nice to see you.
Yes, pranams. No, thank you. Hari Om Dandavat pranams. While we are speaking about the course of this, this discourse, I just noticed that there is a distinct difference between the mundane bodies and the spiritual bodies. My question is, the mundane bodies are possible in the gross level, and then the mundane bodies migrate to certain level and then to the causal level. From the causal level, it goes to Kaivalya to Vaikuntha or Brahmaloka. From there, after enjoying this, whether they will take the form of life and birth, or else they will merge with the Brahma called Narayana or Mahavishnu or Vaikuntha. Could you please clarify how could there be a difference when there are no names and forms for the causal body, and that you have mentioned about various names and sizes? This is what is perplexing me now.
Yeah, so the different kinds of bodies are based on the inherent desires of the soul, right? The soul is eternal. We're learning this in Bhagavad Gita. And the soul, the finite soul, is Tatastha Shakti, right? This middle energy of Bhagavan, right? We have Antaranga Shakti, the internal potency of Bhagavan, where he is having pastimes, loving pastimes with his devotees, paraphernalia. Then there is this Tatastha Shakti, where the finite souls are ontologically existing. And then you have the Bahiranga Shakti, the external potency, which is Maya, essentially. But, Maya is the energy of the Lord still. It's still an aspect of the Lord, but it's external to the central desires of the Lord. It's there to serve the purposes of the finite souls who don't want to engage in devotion. So the Catuḥ-ślokī is marginal potency, so they can either decide to dedicate their free will to the purposes of the Lord and service, loving devotional service, and then they are partaking in activities with their constitutional body of Satchidananda, which is not material, which is not Tanmatra and the Panchamahabhuta. That is not there in the Antaranga Shakti. But if the souls at the marginal potency, if they decide, no, we don't want to engage in that, we want to only have self-centered desires, we want to experience lust and anger and happiness for ourselves, self-centered happiness, all these things, then they're engaged in the external potency. And now that is where we are getting bodies of the material nature based on what is our desire. Then we can come in the form of any living entity, of a tree, an insect, an animal, a human. And based on our karma, right, then we're going through many lives, many lifetimes, and doing different exploitative activities. And then at the end of one lifetime, based on whatever our specific karma is, and the last thing that we're remembering upon leaving the body, then the next body in the external energy, we're still in the Bahiranga Shakti, the external energy, then we're getting a body based on our karma and based on what our consciousness is fixed upon. So we can exploit more and more. So the main thing is that the different bodies are coming from the desire of the soul. It's coming from the Lord's will, in order, because the Lord is having love for all the souls, even those souls who are not choosing to engage in devotional activities. Even they want to have self-centered activities, the Lord is still loving them, but they're not having a direct relationship. So by the potency of his external energy, their desires are being fulfilled, but that is the plane of birth and death, right? That is Mritya Loka, right? Where we're always meeting death, and anything that we're working for in the material life, we can't bring with us to the next life. So this is a perpetual suffering. And the idea is that eventually the soul can, develop some sukriti and can develop some desire to engage in its constitutional activity in conscious, loving service to the Lord. And then the body of karma is leaving, actually, and we're being re-engaged in that Satchidananda, this eternal existence of full consciousness and a very blissful experience. Right? That is the idea. Is that okay, Dr.
Okay.
Srinivas?
Okay. I am still not, clear about that version of the spiritual bodies, because instead about the desire of the soul. Once the soul migrates from the body to the causal level and achieve the kaivalya, it is called as the nature of self, which is indefatigable and indomitable. It is formless, tasteless, and no desires, no vasanas, and no karmas. So how can there be a desire for a soul when it leaves this body to the causal nature to reach the Vaikuntha?
Yes, kaivalya is meaning that is renunciation, right? So renunciation can only lead to Brahman. In this, that's still self-centered desire. We no longer want to be having the karmic reaction of the exploitive plane, but we have no attraction for devotional service in the plane of dedication. So we're just rejecting everything, and we're taking renunciation, kaivalya. We're trying to merge into the existence of God to enjoy that for ourselves. And that is what is described as formless, tasteless, all these things. That is Brahman, the Brahman effulgence. But the soul, the finite soul, is by its nature is active. So it cannot maintain this position of inactivity in Brahman eternally. That is why when the souls who do reach this level of kaivalya, this impersonal liberation and merging with Brahman, after some time, however long, they are falling down back to the material world. They may be coming as a very pious individual, as a philanthropist or something, but eventually they fall back down to the plane of exploitation, to material world, because the soul cannot maintain inactivity. The soul, by its inherent nature, is active. And by striving to practice renunciation, by striving for this impersonal Brahman liberation, that is still self-centered. Still, the soul has not learned the lesson of selfless activity, of selfless service to the Lord, to Bhagavan. So this kaivalya is not a permanent solution. That is the main thing.
One more point, but still, if the soul has a desire, it conveys that the meaning of avidya. How do you interpret it?
Say that again, please.
No, when the soul has a feeling of desire, that means still avidya is permeating the soul. How to eliminate this avidya there?
No, right. So vidya is meaning, right, wisdom, to see. Vid means to see. So this wisdom is to actually see what is the spiritual reality. So avidya, ignorance. Ignorance and having desire are not the same thing. Having material desire, that is avidya, that is ignorance. When we want to have desire for our own satisfaction, that's avidya. But to have vidya means we still have desire, but that desire is to serve the Lord, is to use everything. We were in this life and we have so many things around us. Good. Use everything around you, all your resources, all of your personal qualities, everything. Use that in the plane of dedication to serve the devotees, to serve the Lord. And then we're still having desire, and it's being engaged in a very positive way in spiritual progress. And that is how we can have vidya. That is real vidya.
Okay, thank you. Dandavat pranams.
Dandavat pranams. Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahamsa Shripad Bhakti Madhava Puri Maharaj Ki Jai. Jai Srila Prabhupada, Srila Guru Maharaj, Srila Gurudev, Srila Acharya Dev, Srila Shanta Maharaj Ki Jai. Jai Rupanuga Guru Varga Ki Jai. Jai Navadvip Dham, Nishringapuri Dham, Mayapur Dham Ki Jai. Jagannath Puri Dham Ki Jai. Baladev Subhadra Jagannath Ju Ki Jai. Ganga Mai Yamuna Mai Ki Jai. Vrindavan Dham Ki Jai. Giri Govardhan Gupta Govardhan Dham Ki Jai. Sham Kund Radha Kund Ki Jai. Tulsi Devi Bhakti Devi Vrinda Devi Ki Jai. All glories to the worldwide devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. Sama Bhakti Veda Vrinda Ki Jai. Jai Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Jai. Harinam Sankirtan Yagya Ki Jai. Scientific Sankirtan Yagya Ki Jai. Jai Princeton Bhaktivedanta Institute Ki Jai. Shri Chaitanya Saraswat Institute Ki Jai.
हाँ मैम मैं अभी आपको कॉल बैक कर रही हूँ कॉल बैक
Nitai Gaura Pramanandi. Hari 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 Bol. Dandavat pranams.
धन्यवाद प्रणाम धन्यवाद